All right, set points for Frubertova. We can't leave her waiting. We bring in another Hall of Famer to the show. She was captaining the ship for Team USA. They got the win in Bratislava. There she is. We get Linz on the show. Linz, you know everyone here. She's like already laughing. Did you get some time to celebrate? How was your week?
Oh, it's been great. I think I was a little bit more fatigued and tired than maybe I was expecting to be, but came home and, you know, there's not a lot of time to celebrate when you got 4 kids. You jump right back into it, but we had a good night on Sunday for sure.
Nice.
Linz, congratulations there in Slovakia. And just got to get into it a little bit, right? You know, the first lineup we saw, Pegula, Kessler, you know, you kind of had a whole lineup of players that were going to come, and then you had to change it all up and have Haley Baptiste, Bernarda Pera. So how was that stress kind of, all right, who are we going to call up next? How are we going to get them? Hopefully they're ready to go. How did that all come about? Because obviously Haley and Bernarda filled in extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, right now in American tennis, obviously there's so many players, so I'm well aware of what a great time it is to be in this role. I have 2 co-coaches in Jermaine Jenkins and Matt Clore, and we had a lot of talks in the weeks leading up, like who, if we lose one player, who is next? Like, who are we going to go to? Like, we kind of had a plan in place. McCartney Kessler called me on Friday evening, and she was quite upset. Her back injury that took her out of Miami had kind of flared back up, and she just knew she wasn't able to practice more than 30 minutes without having back problems. So that was the first one. So went to work on trying to replace her. Was in Europe, and on Monday got the notice that both Jess and Danielle weren't going to make it. So Monday was a little bit stressful, to say the least.
Yeah, gnarly.
When you first are picking the team, do you just go down the list? Do you call Coco, and then you call Jessica, and then you call Madison, and then you call Emma? Or how does that work as a captain?
Well, pretty much. I'm still kind of learning the ways. Some of the protocol has changed, I think, from years past, where they really kind of encourage you to go to the players that have deserved it. You know, obviously we have discretion, and I can use surface issues or injuries or form of late. But I'm a big believer that you deserve your spot if you're ranked in that certain spot. So I got a lot of no's. There's no question about that. It was a tough time of year for the U.S. players coming off this long spring swing in the States, but starting in Austin and Indian Wells and Miami and Charleston. So, and then switching back to hard court, none of it was going to be perfect for these players. So I understood it. It just made the job maybe a little bit more challenging.
Nice job, Linz, at the weekend. Great to have you on the show again. Just to that point, I was just wondering, obviously, with the change in the dates now for the season-ending championships as far as the Billie Jean King Cup is concerned, obviously that makes your job a little easier because it's just off the back of the US Open, started that Asian swing now. So always difficult when it's the last event of a long year to get anybody to play. But I'm just wondering how much more difficult it makes your job when the likes of Bernarda and Haley do such a good job for you as kind of late substitutes into the team, and then you've got to pick a team for the finals. How much do you take into consideration those members that have got you there in the first place?
Yeah, I saw your interview with Haley yesterday, so
she wants to be back on the team. She's ready.
Yeah. Totally.
Put me in, coach.
Totally. And you know what? I mean, honestly, after going through I've been a captain now for 3 ties or 3 examples. Honestly, give me a player who wants to be there and that cares. Player that doesn't ask what they're getting paid, if there's ranking points or whatever. And honestly, the week couldn't have turned out any better. It was super stressful leading in, and then things just kind of fell into place. And that's when you have a special week and you feel like, gosh, I'm so lucky as a captain here. What an amazing time to do this job. So, you know, I'm going to sit down and talk to everybody. We're waiting to see the draw and the exact dates that we play. We know we're going to Shenzhen, but I honestly agree with you, Jason. The players that helped get us there certainly are in that conversation, no doubt.
We've now popped back into Stuttgart. Pegula up an early 3-0 lead. She got the most wins on tour. They say, like the NBA season, when teams go on a road trip, you know, you're not sleeping in your own bed, and that's when team camaraderie forms. I don't know about the relationship between all those girls. It did seem like an interesting mixture. I don't even know how well they knew each other or hung out. So I'd just love to know about like team hanging out on the road. I remember in college, it was like we get back to the hotel, like, all right, 6:15 in the lobby, then we walk to the Cheesecake Factory in Fresno. You know, like, are the team dinners like every night? Do you orchestrate them? These are pro players. Do they have to go on team dinners? What was the camaraderie like?
Yeah, I have to tell you, honestly, it's sometimes better to be on the road because you kind of develop this bond as well. And certainly walking out Sunday, I don't know, maybe there was 3,000 people. Weren't many cheering for us. So you automatically kind of feel that. We're always looking forward to Sunday and playing Slovakia. You know, trying to change a little bit of the culture of these team events, you know, ask that no personal coaches go. Obviously, if they want to go, we're trying not to allow them on the court running drills. Like, we're actually trying to build it as a team and have the ladies learn to work together for themselves and kind of learn how to practice. Well, she needs, you know, more forehands up the line. No problem. I'll stay out here. Trying to get back to that. I mean, certainly that's how I played under Billie Jean. Everything was team oriented, like no coaches. Let's try and actually be a team these couple weeks a year. So this group, everyone kind of came alone. We did, Haley did bring Franklin Tiafo, Francis's twin. He was amazing to have around, and he brought some good vibes. But because of that, you kind of hang out together. Friday night, we did a escape room in a bomb shelter.
Cool. Nice.
Pretty crazy. Yeah,
Who
not
was
so
the
good.
best? Who was the best in the escape room?
Yeah, I want to know.
Who's the leader in there?
Yeah.
So no question about that. Des was all over it for sure. Asia and Bernarda. Haley at one point gave me her phone so I could watch because the other tie was playing. So I was off to the side with one of those security guards and I was watching Slovakia play Denmark. I was studying. But, you know, something else that happened is all of a sudden a virus started going through the team. We lost a couple of members of the team and the support staff. And so Sunday morning, I was just staring at my phone, like just waiting to hear from the ladies. Like, I feel good.
Yeah.
Come on, everybody text. We got through it. Some are still sick this week. So, you know, we went through a lot. We had fun. We do team dinners. We have team meals all the time. It worked out pretty well last week.
Nice. Lindsay, as a captain, look, going into this, you've never coached Haley Baptiste, Bernarda Pera, Asia Mohammed. Des, how do you kind of balance the tactical advice and kind of emotional support in these high pressure situations that are happening in these team matches?
That's what you got to balance when you're on the court, and every player is different. And interesting story on Bernarda, because I knew her very little, didn't know tons about her, but I called her Monday night, and honestly, like, I just got the goosebumps thinking about it. She was like almost crying on the phone. Like, this would be the biggest honor. I'll get there. I can drive tonight. She was in Croatia. Like, no, you don't have to drive tonight.
Yeah.
Like, but we were sitting on the court on maybe Thursday or Friday practicing, and she looks up and she's like, you know, why is our flag the only one that's like wrinkled and off-centered? Like, all of a sudden, I mean, she was so jazzed to represent her country. And I think that showed when she was playing as well. But, you know, her match was the big match. That was the one, you know, we knew Haley had to win it too. We knew we were a big favorite there, but really to try and win it, number one, and how she fought through there. But it was pretty funny because the last game, the changeover, she's up 6-5. She looks at me like, what do I do here? Like, I go, you use your serve, you go for it, you got this. And afterwards, when I was talking to Matt and Gervais, they were laughing. They were like, oh, we were telling her, just slice it to the backhand. Like, oh, God, I was telling her to like, go for the aces. Like, everyone was doing their best. But Haley was amazing also. She got in Wednesday. Watching her just kind of process everything and compete in, again, the two lines, she was the favorite in both matches, but you got to play. I mean, she just showed up and balled out and like no drama. She was awesome. I mean, honestly, I got really, really lucky there as a captain. Lindsay,
you mentioned kind of the support team. You know, you mentioned Matt Clower, Jermaine Jenkins that are helping you. How much of a role do they play along with the physios, massage therapists, stats and analytics? There's so much that's going into it. How much of a role does the support staff play into the team?
That's the part about being able to be on a team. And the USTA is amazing at providing all of those roles. Again, the players have physios. We had a massage therapist. We had a doctor. But Matt and Jermaine are something special in terms of managing practices. Matt drew up this whole game plan with the analytics from the USTA and highlights from Sremkova playing other lefties. We spent probably an hour with Bernarda on Sunday morning going over all this, and she, so appreciative. And honestly, that was the most fun part, trying to work together for the help and to try and get these ladies to win. I think that's why it was so rewarding. So to be able to come through, but the whole USTA staff, trying to do everything that they can. I think the players maybe realized how lucky that they are that they come from such a great tennis nation.
Just off the back of that, fascinating questions and answers there. And I was just wondering about your career as a whole, because obviously you've been such a great player. You've played under so many great players and captains when representing Team USA in the Fed Cup and the Billie Jean King Cup and the Olympics. And then, of course, you've helped Maddie. And now you're in this coaching role. You've got all of this information coming into your head. What have you learned most as a coach over the course of the last few years since you quit playing, and how has that kind of changed your style of coaching now?
I have learned that I don't know nearly enough. Trying to get through all these different players and personalities, and trying to help our son as well. All these players are so unique, and it has been interesting kind of transitioning into that. When I take the role of Billie Jean King Cup captain, for 80 or 90% of my career, it was Billie Jean. And no one can live up to Billie. It's like impossible. And all of her ability to fire her players up and the knowledge she imparts. So I try and take some pieces from her. There's no question. Certainly some of my best weeks on tour were in the team format. So I've always looked to that and try and give that enjoyment to the players. Again, I'm still pretty new in this job. The personal coaching is so tough these days. I mean, this career, there's so much pressure. I think that social media and this kind of new age of technology makes it even tougher for a lot of these players. But each player is so unique, and how hard that you can push them. What do you need to do? Oh, geez, stop with all this.
Was that a Conchita toss?
That was a Conchita toss, right?
Yeah.
We've been watching your highlights for the last 2 hours.
Oh, my goodness. I thought all this was burned years ago.
Yeah, the Fed Cup championship teams are
Do you
burned,
find yourself now that you're in a coaching captain role, like, all right, it's Sunday night, I've got Jessica playing in Stuttgart, I've got Haley playing here, I've got Desiree playing doubles. Do you look at when the players are playing and all right, I got to wake up at 5 a.m. to watch this player, and then at 7:30 I have this player playing? Or I guess I want to know, how far out of your way will you go to watch your players play?
Well, 100%. Now, it does make it super easy to watch the replays on the TC app. So but
nicely done.
Sitting there yesterday.
Nicely done.
I just set that up.
Do you want the QR code too, Linz?
BetMGM as well. BetMGM.
Snipe copy.
I paid for my subscription, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
But yesterday, my one daughter practices beach volleyball from 7 to 10 in the morning. So I was sitting there by the beach watching her, but watching Bernarda on my phone play in Rouen against Noskova. You have to follow it when you can. Sometimes I'm rewatching them later at night. Luckily, I have a husband who played tennis and is super into it, so he doesn't mind watching tennis with me. But as much as I can, honestly. And I think when you really like the players, look at all the players that we have. They're amazing. Coco and Jess and Madison and Emma, all of them. And you go all the way down. Even, Robin Montgomery now just about to get in the top 100. So it's pretty easy to cheer for them and to watch them play. I wish I could watch them live more at some tournaments, but at least the technology, that's a huge part of this generation and makes it a lot easier to keep tabs on everybody.
And just in case you're wondering whether she's telling the truth or not, obviously, Lindsay would never lie. But when you're commentating with Lindsay and you're doing a match, Indian Wells, you got eyes out of the window. She's got 4 monitors over here, plus the phone, plus the iPad, watching all of the Americans on all of the outside courts, updates, everything. Always so interested in how all of the Americans, not just the best players, the ones ranked a little lower, the ones that may be on the cusp of the team. So I've got to say, she is 100% committed. It's good to see.
Do you think?
I think that annoys Jason, but he takes it like a champ.
What doesn't annoy Jason?
I know.
Jason's annoyed at my laptop. It's 1 inch too much to the left here.
Can it be more difficult sometimes having so many players to choose from, as opposed to we have 4 good players and that team is obviously the team?
it is amazing right now. And Mary Jo Fernandez, one of my best friends, was the captain. You know, she only had a handful of players in the top 100. So it's really good to kind of be able to talk to some other captains, Jim, Bob Bryan, you know, because Mary Jo's like, you're so lucky you have so many players. And that's exactly what kind of happened last week, being able to have so many players in that top 100. I'm getting more used to being in the role, and we'll start to maybe not feel like I just have to go straight down the rankings, like, and be able to look more closely at a player and how they're playing. And honestly, it's getting to the point, like, which player really wants to be there. And so we'll see in the future. Look at all these players. I mean, it's absolutely crazy right now. Different playing styles, different personalities, different strengths on all of them. Look at, I mean, how we don't come away with one of these titles here pretty soon. I mean, I think we've won it twice in 25 years. Seems crazy. So trying to build the culture also of the younger players coming up, like, you guys, this really is important and means something. You'll have no better feeling when you represent your country. So trying to kind of impart that on maybe some of the players coming up that hopefully will assume the mantle in, I don't know, 5-6 years.
Lindsay, this BJK qualifier was played on indoor hard. You think there's a way to kind of make it more uniform to where it would be played on clay? Because obviously now these tournaments are leading into the French Open. So do you think that's a change that could be made within BJK Cup?
You know, it's so interesting. I'm a fan of the home and away. I don't know if we go to China, when we go to China, if we'll have that same atmosphere when we play other countries besides the hosts. But, you know, a great example is Coco Gauff's like, yeah, that actually could work well because I'm going to Stuttgart. I'm like, well, hold on. It's actually on hard court. And she's like, that makes no sense for me. You know, and the same with Jess. And like, so, you know, it is the host nation's right to be able to put it on whatever surface, you know, they want. I think that our lineup would have looked different if it had been on indoor clay. I appreciate the ones that came despite it being on hard court. Para then took off for the tournament in France on clay. Des and Asia took off to go play, you know, doubles in Stuttgart. Alicia, who got sick, was also planning to play on clay. She did. So, you know, sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit, but I realize it's not perfect. So there are some things that they can do. I think changing the date to September will help a lot from the end of the season where players get fried. They're like, wait, I don't want to add another 10 days to my schedule. So let's see, it leads into those big tournaments in China, in Beijing and Wuhan. So we'll see what the interest level is coming up in the next few months.
Pegula up a double break. She's yet to lose a point on her second serve. Up that half volley wide. What? I was thinking you were breaking down all the different coaching that Lindsay's done. So when you're the BJK Cup captain, and it's good we're talking about BJK Cup because Lindsay doesn't want to talk about her 2 championships in Stuttgart. Like, it's good we just keep it as her as the coach. So you're on the bench when you're doing BJK Cup. You've coached Keys. Usually coaches in the tour events are like in the corner, right? You watch tennis on TV. Do you think if you want a perspective of a match for the best coaching perspective, do you think there's a spot to watch the match that is like the best to like have the best read on the match? Or am I looking too far?
I'll tell you, sitting courtside on a bench is not the place.
Yes, that's what I thought.
I mean,
that's what I thought. You don't see the angles? Yeah, tell us,
No, you can't see really anything. So that is where we have to sit. I always find that being behind the court. I mean, you see how the ball's traveling, where it's really going, some of the spins, get a better sense on the speed. You know, so there on the bench when you're sitting there, it is a little, I mean, obviously it is tactical, but you can't quite see everything how it's playing out. Then you rely a little bit on your coaching staff who's on the sideline, who I love that I can communicate with them. That certainly helped a lot. But you're really just trying to make sure that the player's feeling okay. You know, one big thing in Para's match, the player she was playing, Sremkova, on Friday was up 5-1, 40-15 the first set. I think it went to a tiebreak. Was up 4-11 the second, lost it. So I remember when she came back at 4-1 down in the second, she was 4-love down. I was like, listen, you got to hang in here. Like, this happened on Friday. And, you know, you just kind of give the player a little bit of belief, a little bit of something to kind of grab onto. So I think it's a little bit more motivational sitting there. I wouldn't sit on the side of the court if you really want to break down a match.
Yeah, I mean, we had Bernardo, or they did on Women's Day on Tuesday, and she said that was the
you did?
She said that
Nice.
was the biggest moment of her career was playing in the BJK Cup and playing with you. She said that you made her feel comfortable, relaxed, and that was the biggest moment of her career so far. So she was just so.
I've never seen her smile like that.
Never seen her smile like that. Yeah.
You love to hear it. Honestly, I didn't really know what to expect, and honestly, you just never know who's the most patriotic.
Yeah.
Honestly, she came out there and she wanted to win more than anything. It was so nice. I was so crushed for her yesterday when she lost. I knew that meant a lot to her. Yeah, but I mean, I'm like, we're going to help you try and get to where you can go in tennis. She is an awesome lady. And it was cute to see it mean so much to her, honestly. Seeing her all week, she worked so hard in practice, like so professional, always, taking 30, 40 minutes to warm up, trying for everything, listening to everything. It was kind of like a dream scenario in that case.
Yeah, it was great to see her so animated on the match court as well, especially off the back of the wing, because when you watch her play at tour level, you don't get much back, and she often looks a little glum on the court. Obviously don't know her at all, but it was great to see how you were able to get the best out of her as a captain. And I'm just wondering a little bit, I'm hoping to become a tennis parent. My son Garrett doesn't play much tennis as yet. You're a tennis mom. So how do you get that balance right with Jagger as to wearing the mom's cap, wearing the coach's cap? How does that work in a family?
Listen, my kids were talking the other night because we have to, the 4 kids were always splitting up, who's going to go where. And I heard my Jagger say, well, Dad is so great. He's so positive and he's always there. And Mom, I mean, she's really neutral. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I'm like, and he's like, oh, no, it's good. Mom can take you. And I'm like, geez, you guys. So it's always a challenge when it's your own kids. I mean, I've learned, I have Tracy, I have Mary Jo. There's so many of us going through it. But you kind of learn your lessons, Jason. I'll help you along the way when you get there.
I only hope that Garrett has technique like that. How about the technique on the volley?
Perfect. I think he's 4. It's always tough with these ITF websites. I think Jagger's 4 in the world, his junior ranking.
He's doing really well. Really well.
Yeah. He's, the other one is Michael Chang's daughter, Lonnie's doing great.
Oh,
and
is that
so
right?
now I feel like, okay, now I'm helping Amber Chang with this whole road, just like Mary Jo did for me. So it's pretty fun to see some former players around and now going through like this junior circuit and then the transition to pros or see them in college. So there's a few of us, and we're all pretty close. So I get a lot of great advice and a lot of help.
Lindsay, we always make light of the fact that Pam Shriver, when she's at her son's match, she's like calling foot fault. She's what high school match? What is going on out here? So I didn't know if you were like that as well. Like, that person's foot faulting, they're cheating. I didn't know if you were on top of it as well.
Not so much in that regard. I mean, one time he wasn't giving maybe his best effort. That didn't go over great. I left him somewhere.
Just left him.
I did. I called me after the match. I'm like, well, I took off for home. He's like, what are you talking about? And so, it's funny to kind of teach lessons as well. I mean, who knows who's doing it right, but that part's been really fun. We have 1 of 4 that plays tennis. So we're, makes my husband really happy. My daughters are into other things, which keeps us busy. But, it's been fun to see him and see him kind of develop and where he wants to go and how hard he's trying to get there.
Lindsay, what have you seen with Jessica Pegula? We see her, she's up 6-1 here. She's been on an absolute tear. What have you seen that's progressed in her game over the last few months?
It's interesting because I really thought Australia was going to be really great for her. Coming off the U.S. Open where she was able to get to the final, those conditions in Australia are really great for her in terms of fast courts, the ball can skid through the court. And she just didn't play her best tennis there. So I was curious how she would kind of come back. And then to see her in the spring is pretty awesome. Last year it was Danielle Collins. This year it was just being able to navigate Miami until Sabalenka, and then of course picking it up in Charleston. I know the serve is something she's really been working on, trying to get it to be more of a weapon, looking to try and get a free point or 2 in her service games. I mean, shot for shot, she hits the ball as clean as anyone out there. Learning to use the drop shot and variety that both Marks, Knowles and Merklin have given to her has been great. I also just think that the belief that finally getting through to past the quarterfinals at a slam, I think that's really helped her. Indoor clay is good for her. Roland Garros probably is going to be the most difficult for her slam-wise, with how she produces her shots. But I mean, I told her there's no reason that you cannot win Wimbledon or the U.S. Open. Like, I love her game. I love how she hits her shots. And I hope she gets another chance at winning that major.
I guess going along with the American women, since, Lindsay, we don't have to be as buttoned up. Madison Keys, when she won Australian Open, I know you're so close with her. Was that a crying moment for you? Because obviously, for all of us here at American Tennis, it was so great to see her win that.
You don't know me well. I had to cry my way through doing a show at TC. Like, it was like 5 hours later, I was still crying. I actually turned the match off midway through the second because I was getting a little nervous. And it's the middle of the night in California. I almost flew down. My son was still in the juniors, and she was obviously making a run. And I thought, like, oh, maybe I'll jinx them. So I stayed in California. But our great boss, Bob Wiley, who, by the way, it's his birthday today, he was the one who pulled me in. Yes. And he was like, oh, you should fly down there. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just don't know. Anyways, watched it, then was following live scores, turned it back on. And, everything that she's gone through, being having a front row seat to that. It's not easy, this career and this life. She went through a lot of really public disappointment as well. I couldn't be more proud of her. Super amazed that by the way, how she did it as well. Not amazed that she did it, but really tough draw. I mean, taking out Rybakina, Swiatek, Sabalenka is like thing that a dream is made of. So couldn't have been happier for her. My eyes were completely swollen for the women's final recap show, if you look back at that. It was awesome. And, I hope Jess gets her moment as well. She's seen Coco now win one. She saw Madison win one. She's next in line, really. And so hope that she gets her day as well.
Yeah, 2 players in the top 10, 30 or older. It's unbelievable to see. Maybe their best 10 is still ahead of them. Last question for you, Lindsay. You've been hanging out with her for so long.
Yeah.
We always ask the Stuttgart champs, did you get the Porsches when you won in 04, 05? I didn't know if that was always the case. I know it happened for Tracy.
It was always the case. Yeah, I mean, are we allowed to talk about it?
Yeah. Tracy,
I mean, we have a picture with Tracy with the car and a horse behind her. So I didn't know if you have that same kind of picture.
I got lucky because it was on a fast indoor hard court. I don't think I'd be taking home any titles on a clay. But yeah, if you were in the top 5, you got one for going, and then you got your prize money. One year, they actually, when I won my 3rd, they gave me a turbo. And my husband got 3 speeding tickets within 6 months. True story.
No way.
The next time I went, I gave him a Cayenne. He was so mad at me, but I'm like, dude, there's no way.
Either way, they're both
done.
fast.
So great.
That's crazy.
Cayennes are amazing, but I was like, you're cut off from the sports car.
Wow,
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
We got to clip that. I gave him a Cayenne. He was so upset with
It's like, you're not getting the Carrera again. No way.
Never a turbo.
Lindsay, thanks for the chat and the hang. Congrats
Thanks,
on
guys.
last week. So cool to see. And I don't know when we're going to see you next, but we hope it's soon.
Sometime soon. I'll be around soon.
All right. Thanks,
Look forward
Liz.
to it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Lynn.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
guys.